I'm your host, Zeek the Kid. Thanks for joining me for episode 16. I'm bringing you another guest this week. He's going to be joining us shortly. Thank you for joining us on the most inspired podcast on planet Earth. We'll be with you shortly. Hey everybody, thank you for patiently waiting. I'll be with you shortly. Welcome to the most inspired podcast in the world. Please subscribe if you haven't already. Drop something in the comments. Let us know if you're digging the jams, the smooth jams by Professor Creepshow, the one and only. Always the most analog of all analogs. Thank you for patiently waiting, and we're going to be with you very shortly. I'm your host, Zeek the Kid. Hey everybody, how you doing? I always forget that. One moment. This big hunk of a mattress that I prop up. Sorry, super disorientating. Just rumble your whole screen just there. This disgusting mattress that I have to put up off the ground, but I take it it's a political stance to sleep on the mattress on the floor. That's my rebuttal against the fucking establishment. That's why I do it. Because I'm like, fuck your establishment, fuck the rules. How's that? I think I'm improving on the lighting. Every episode we're getting a bit better with the lighting. At least I'm trying to. I'm trying to improve in small ways, any way that I sort of can for the podcast. Eventually I'm gonna get this fan to work. I sometimes think these fans don't even communicate on the same wavelength, frequencies, and whatnot. And we're going to be joined by none other than my main man, Ilya. And he said he's going to be joining us very soon. So in the meantime, I'm going to take the reins so far. I'm going to take us off. I'm going to set us off. I'm going to strap you in, buckle you up, feed you the porridge that you absolutely do not want to eat. And we're going to blast off. Okay? I don't necessarily know where we're going. All right? I do know one thing, and my hairline is receding every week. The stress, insurmountable. Okay? It seems I don't know what to do. If you have your own remedies for hair loss, please drop it in the comments, because I don't know. I'm lost. I'm completely lost. Okay, Menodixtril. I know is a substance that you could use, but I'm kind of like, I don't know. What am I? Once I start, like, will I ever stop? What's the how? Like, I get it. I'm looking like I'm one business suit away from just looking like your typical 9-to-5 or walking down the street. Okay. Nothing scares me more than that. All right. If someone walked up to me and asked me like what the stock market's looking like right now, I don't know what I'd say. The Dow Jones is up. I don't know. There's a 50-50 chance. It's either going to be up or down. All right. It's not going to be left or right. But what would I say to them? I have no idea. I just feel like it looks, I don't know, it's coming, it's definitely cutting back there. I don't know, it's in the genetics. It's part of the natural code, I guess. Like, every gorilla loses their hair eventually, right? Is that a fucking saying? I don't even know. There's some really popular sayings that I feel like we stand by in life. And what's one of them recently? One of them recently has been the saying less is more. And I actually do believe that. I totally believe that less is more. As a matter of fact, some of the happiest people I've met have had almost nothing. So I feel like we all know a miserable rich man. Everyone's seen American Psycho, okay? Rich people are chronically pathological, narcissistic. They eat a lot of lobster, all right? I don't know a poor man that's not a fisherman that doesn't eat, that eats a lot of lobster, eats that much lobster. If you're an artist who follows artists, which if you are an artist, you should follow artists. I'm not talking about Instagram. I'm talking about news and publications. But there's a story by the great David Cho, and he used to tell this story. Well, I don't know. He didn't used to obviously it wasn't one that he just walked around town. But I remember him once saying that there was a point in his life where he was ordering lobster plates to different hotel rooms filled with strippers, girls, prostitutes. But I don't know whether that's true or not. Look, I haven't had the opportunity to actually speak with David Cho and ask him if that story was correct. But I think more than anything, what he's saying is like that was in effect like how he felt at that time when he had so much, like in a surplus of just like wealth. And if you don't know who David Cho is, you should really look him up. I might zoom us here to this screen and take us here where I can show you one of my favorite artists of all time. A great inspiring person, you know, beyond just the art that David creates. He's someone who really believes in, it's hard to kind of explain because it's just he just believes in the self. Like he believes that I don't even want to define it, I guess, you know. Here's a great picture. I thought he was being arrested, but you have to listen to him because it's not you couldn't like it'd be wrong for me to like define David Cho as this guy who says one thing, because that's not exactly what he's saying. I don't even think that's what he like wants to try and say. I don't even know what he wants to try and say. That's the point. I believe that he's trying to get you to question yourself, not what he's doing. You know, it's not about that. Like, and I mean, his art style is like fucking. It's anyway. We could talk like all day about his art style. It's tremendous. It's very detailed yet expressive and free in nature. Like it's contained yet completely exploding off of the canvas. It's free and yet constrained within contemporary forms, and you can tell, like, you know, and he has studied art as well, which is something that I really admire. And like I studied through college, but he actually, you know, it was part of his career. Like, you know, he sketched and drew like comic book character art and highly like detailed, you know, he used to do the small minute details, and that's what like allows him, I think, to be so expressive. And I mean, he said it, so I believe for him to then create something that's like this and so free but constrained in a way, you know, using the techniques that he's like developed. And he's just recently made these things, they're really cool. I believe it's called like a Munko. So the Munko is his elephant character, which Dave Cho created this elephant character, and it's been something that he's drawn and spray painted and graffitied as he's traveled around the world. And now he's created these bags, which, I mean, I think they're tremendous. I think that this is like Miu Miu, if Miu Miu, you know, were inspired by animals for a season. I could see this on a runway, is what I'm saying. Like, it's great work. It's hilarious. You know, detachable canisters here. I mean, it's really, really funny. I'll show you the drawing, because this is in his documentary. I believe it's Dirty Hands, but you can see the fucking elephant. I mean, the whale. And I wonder if I can find one of the first ones that he did. Here. Oh, this is one from Dirty Hands, The Art and Crimes of David Cho. And like this particular one was a huge one that he did, and it said here, "Ride the bus." So, you know, it was really great to see like that, just to see him do that. And I think there's some kids here painting one of them, and like he's done so much art. I sometimes think like I've done a lot of art because like I've been practicing as well since like a really young age, you know, like I've been drawing forever. I've been painting, I've been sculpturing, I've been like crafting, but I mean, nothing in comparison to David Cho. It's just my own thing, my own progression in my art. But I relate to him where he's just like, ever since I feel like I've been watching him, he's always spoken about how early he's been making art, and so I really relate to that. A lot of it's really tremendous, and I feel like um, whether it's this would be interesting. I would love to kind of like ask David this at some point if I ever get the opportunity to speak with him. But I would wonder, like, because for me, when I create something, when I draw or when I paint, even if it's like to my own frustration, someone will say it looks like a Zeek piece. And I can't always see that. I'm sometimes like, I make something and I'm like, oh, it's, it's unique in my mind. But someone says, like, oh, it looks like Zeke's done it. Like, it looks like a Zeek piece. This was really true with like some of the graffiti that I was doing, like the murals, and when I was graffitiing on things like boxing gloves or things like that. But people would say, "Oh, yeah, it's a Zeek piece," and I would want to ask David, like, do you feel like it's an identity that you intentionally apply throughout the mediums, or is it something that's just an inherent quality within you that you're like, you know, painting and doing whatever it is, and someone's able to say like, "Oh, that's David Cho, that's his art style," because I think that's what it is. Um, so anyway, that's a bit of an inspired thought right there. You know what we're at, where we're at right here on the Since We Last Spoke podcast, the most inspired podcast on planet Earth. So why is it the most inspired podcast on planet Earth? Because I'm here, I'm your host, Zeke the Kid, and I'm inspired, okay? You could be the most inspired person on planet Earth. Who's to prove you wrong? How could you possibly prove someone who's claiming to be inspired wrong? Riddle me that. I can't think of anything. I was trying to disprove it. I'm sure someone can. Okay, there are some measurements. Um, let's talk. Let's go deeper into this topic. Okay, so let's go and relate it to David Cho. Let's bring him in as well. Okay, so I mean, like David Cho started with graffiti. At least in my mind, started with street art. That was his main point of expression. I feel like inspired by, I think, just like being a revolutionary in that way, being young, being rebellious. You're attracted. I was attracted to graffiti and street art as an art form because of that reason, and people like Shepard Fairey and Banksy. So that's the beginning. At that point, you're already like inspired. Okay, you follow that inspiration, and like David Cho traveled, and he filmed and recorded this show, and he did Hitchhiking Across America, Hitchhiking Across the galaxy, um, and then that also was brought about really because, I mean, like, part of also graffiti culture is that you just like move around. Street art it's a constantly moving thing. It's like something that's about moving your practice to space and spaces and different things. So that also was inspired by that. And like, to try and bring it into the topic at hand, I guess inspiration is something that you draw from, where you draw from something that's a part of yourself that then pushes you into the forward. I think that's part of what the word is like. It's a forward thinking word. Inspired would be like, oh, prior, right? What inspired the process is a phrase that we use to like describe the prior. But it also, I think that there's inclination to the future in some way in that as well. Like what inspires us, I feel like, is pointing us into the future. What inspires me to do things now are parts of my past that I continue to reflect upon because they're relevant to me, and I feel safe residing within that. You know, yeah. So I kind of, when I'd say why and how could you describe this as being the most inspired podcast on earth, I would say, well, I'm sort of a product of culture as an artist. Well, maybe less of a product and somewhat of like a translator, a transmutator, some kind of trans, not that kind of trans. My gender has remained straight since I've been an artist, just so if anyone's curious. But no offense if you choose to Apache helicopter yourself or something like that. Okay, that's totally up to you. But I'm just saying, whatever it is, I am like feel like I have to understand culture. And what was I listening to recently, which was super inspiring? There we go. But it was saying that in order to be a great artist, obviously this is an opinion, you need to understand culture as much as you can, right? To make something that's playing with the right elements, you need to be understanding what's making up the current space and time and situation that you're in, right? Because, like, let's be honest, if you make an image and nobody understands it, that's great if that's what you want, okay? But sometimes I've been frustrated because I've made something and it hasn't reflected at that place and time. Now that's totally like part of it, and I obviously at that time didn't make it with the intention of it to maybe connect and even connect to the audience there and then. So it's a very like take with it what you will, but at the end of the day, true art I think finds a way. The If you don't know David Cho's story, he was a graffiti artist, street artist, and then Mark Zuckerberg found him at the time before Facebook became huge, right? So Mark Zuckerberg evidently found David Cho and asked him to paint the Facebook studio. In return, I can't spell studio. In return, he offered David a payment or Facebook stocks. David Cho, being a degenerate gambler, no offense to David, chose the stocks. And here we go. And right, so now the stock is worth, what is that? 200 million, 200 billion, million, thousand, hundred. Yes, right? I fucking don't even know. I didn't even know the number. That's just insane. In 2005, this graffiti artist was paid 60,000 supposedly, according to this post. We take that with a grain of salt. I don't think I've ever had to say that. He took the payment instead in stocks, and now the stock is worth that much. So that's also what happens when you know your worth. I'm going to say that because I'm going to assume David knew that maybe what he did was worth more than 60,000, but I could be wrong. Like, I don't know David Cho, and I'm sure he'd say that's not true, or that the gamble was that let me take the stocks because you never know. So I think there's something really admirable and adventurous about that story, you know. And let me just say, if someone ever offers you stocks or money for payment, just think about it, okay? Because you never know. I feel like you just never know what can happen. So yeah. Anyway, that's sort of where I'm coming from with that sort of thing, and I guess like I'd be really interested in what makes an artist the way that they think, because we deal with a lot of different things. I deal with a lot of like stress and fucking anxiety and anyway, crazy things. But whatever I've dealt with, I've always found a way to be inspired. I feel like I'm always inspired by something. Maybe it's just because it's turned into like a survival thing. It's like if I feel like I'm not inspired, then something's wrong. I definitely have flat moments as well, but those are the moments where I really enjoy just like watching a movie and um, talking with people, like replying to the messages on my phone, or like commenting on Instagram. Because funnily enough, I feel like not a lot of people pay attention to the comment section on Instagram, but there's a bunch of people down there and everyone's trying to connect. Well, okay, not everybody's trying to connect. I take that back. Some people are just there to say, like, oh, like, nice belt buckle, bro, or like say something funny. But I just think that there's always an opportunity within that to comment on their comment and reply with something really funny. I love doing that. I think part of me as a kid has always been like a troll. Part of me has always been a bit of like a comment junkie. Like I've always felt like I had to say something just to say it. Deeper than that now, I understand just to say it gets to a point where it's just for attention. There is still that, but also the reason why I want attention now is because I want to like test people. You know, if I can test someone to kind of judge themselves or be vulnerable, and I want to now be vulnerable with the way that I comment and interact with social media like that. And like for example, I was having an interaction with a post that was talking about the late great Ziz. If you guys don't know Ziz, he's the original looks maxer. I think he's like the original everything maxer, like, but mostly looks mogging. He's like the originator of this mogging thing that's now like taken over the fucking internet. And I commented, and it's he used to have this saying, and it's like, "We're all gonna make it, bruh." That was like his thing. He was like, "We're all gonna make it, bruh," because he was inspired. Like he actually believed in people. I mean, as crazy as he was, if you ever watch a Ziz video, you're like, "There's no way." Like he did care. Okay, and I commented, "We're all going to make it, bro," as a throwback to like, this famous line that he says. And this other guy commented and said, "This may be my single best comment I've ever made on Instagram." At that point, I just retired. I threw it in. That was it. I threw in the towel. I was like, I'm retired. I'm officially retired. I don't need to fucking use Instagram anymore. I don't need to comment anymore. I made it. I shared the story, the comment to my story. Um, and he liked the comment. This person that replied, I don't know who it is. Obviously, it's someone with like no posts, and then they followed me from that as well. You know what's funny is that interaction, whether you like it or not, is more genuine than you going up to someone on the street and saying, "Hey, I like," or like you saying, "What's your Instagram? Hey, can I get your Instagram?" Okay, if you go up and you're like, "Hey, I really like your style. Like, where'd you get those pants?" And then you're just like, okay, you talk a bit. You're like, okay, can I get your Instagram? A bit different. You had like a bit of a conversation. But sometimes in some parts of the world, okay, there are these sad people that are thinking that getting their numbers up or a numeral accounts for popularity and status. Okay, I get that like that's part of how it functions now. Part of how our brains function now is that numeral, the amount of followers you have, is this like um, is this social like validating thing. There is a layer of that, but you really can't allow that to get in the way of interacting and connecting with people, because I hate when I get asked that question, and I look at the numbers, because it's right there above the follow. It's like I'm not going to look at it, and I take a mental note about it, and then I have to call myself and be like, whoa, dude, like it's not even, so what? And I usually think, so what? I'm like, it doesn't really matter to me. Like it doesn't matter if you have like 20,000 followers and you're following three people. Okay, if anything, it makes more sense, because if you are like you have a fan base in that way, like how are you going to interact with all these people? I don't know. In one respect, I don't. It's like it's a weird one, and feel free to like comment what you kind of think about it, because it's something that I think is like ultimately trivial. It's like a fucking. It's a question of like how you are as a person rather than anything else. I think, and it's just um like I admire you if you have a equal following count. But for me, it's like I really want to try and see what I can from people that I follow on my feed. But even in saying that now, I feel like on my feed, there's just like nonsense. There's people that I don't even follow half the time. I miss things from friends that I do follow. Um, and it's just, it's no longer what I thought it was, you know? But that's the stance that I have, and I'm not going to change that. I might be following like 300 people and at some point have however many followers, but that would never change how I see the world. Okay. And I mean, and I would hate if it does. And it definitely is not a measurement of like the person for me. It's like well beyond that. I think it's important to acknowledge that and be like, okay, yeah, like so, yeah, okay, whatever their ratio and they have this many followers, like, cool, they're known. Okay, I'm not gonna like share them a post of like a naked fucking um something crazy like a shark eating a baby seal. All right, okay, and like they might have like they might have better things to do or something like that with their time, and that's just how I think. But ultimately, at the end of the day, if a number like that means so much to you, then it's a little bit shallow. um so yeah, there's a few different ways that I feel like you can deal with life stresses in the day to day, and one thing is definitely not focusing on the amount of followers you have. Definitely not. That's like the one thing that will cause you stress. And some of you probably like, I don't even do that anyway. Well, I sometimes do it. Okay, I've had to call myself out. I feel like as a goal of mine, as someone who believes that I have like a couple fans. Okay, one or two people that genuinely follow and mess with what I do and what I create. And to those people, I want to say, what's up? I hope you enjoyed this. This is a shout out to you, the most inspired podcast on planet Earth. But um, that can't be what inspires you to do what you need to do. Okay, because there's at some point it's going to be meaningless. Okay, at some point, like the numbers on there won't relate to what you're creating, and it will just kind of it will forever alienate you. All right, like you need to find ways to really connect with yourself, and that's not a good way to do it. um, Finding what inspires you, like we were saying before, is exactly how you're going to do that, right? You're going to be able to find that thing that you believe in, and that thing that reminds you of being what you were when you were a kid. Before you knew how to act cool, you just acted, right? Before you knew how to act cool, you just acted. If you were playing a cowboy, you were the cowboy. If you were playing a bank robber, you were a bank robber. If you were playing like cops and robbers, it was you were taking that your brother, you were taking him down. Okay? It was people had to step in to break those games up. Parents had to step in, okay, because shit got real. Before you knew how to fake it, it was real. And that's the only way you're going to be able to fulfill yourself in this world today is you have to figure out how to be real again. You have to figure out how to be the cowboy again. And a lot of that is not really thinking about, oh, what does a cowboy do? Oh, I have boots and cowboy hats and like small, like it's about letting go. You have to fucking let go. Like so many people are holding on to this fake pretense of who they are and who they need to be and where they're going. And like, it's like a fucking map. It's like, where am I? What is this? Holding it fucking everywhere. It's like you lost. You're like looking at the play. You're like, I don't remember this street. What the hell's going on here? You're looking through this map. But You got to fucking put the map down. All right. And just like take a step back from the map. And then you fucking see where you need to go. Like, I think that we're so busy trying to like handle everything like a fucking map, like directions, that if you just like took a step back from everything, and if you're lost, pardon me, damn, you'd have that perspective, right? You'd have the ability to be like, oh, like I can see more of the image now. Like, yes, you're gonna need to fucking take a step back in and grab the map again, but at the very least, you're taking that step back to acknowledge the fact that, okay, I'm lost. Yes. How do I stop fake? Like, how do I stop being fake, being dramatic, and be genuine again and find my way? And this is something that I'm dealing with. Like, I'm not talking like I know that this is the answer. I'm just saying that, like, this is the way that I think that it's going to be fulfilled function. Illy G in the place to be, right? You can't listen to the podcast and be joined in at the same time. By the way, okay, hold up. I'm gonna mute him real quick so that we don't have any echo. Ilya, I'm muting you until then. It looks like Ilya is in a fucking Russian labor camp right now, so let's hope that he's doing all right. Um, where are you
I
at?
got this audio.
Yeah, yeah,
But yeah,
yeah,
go on, go on.
yeah. I think you got it. Oh wait, no, it's still echoing.
Is
You
that all
can't
right?
listen. No, you can't listen to it and be in it at the same time. Oh, that's better. You got it. No, no, it's
I
still
know I gotta
echoing.
get headphones, bro.
All right. Looks good though, where you're at right now. Did you hear the part where I said you're in a Russian labor camp? All right, I'm gonna just like cancel it just so that. Here we go.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, that's pretty good. Except your
I can't
screen right
really hear
now.
you now, since that's my trouble with the audio.
Oh, damn, that's a shame because it's
Audio
like,
malfunction.
okay,
Give me a second.
well, yeah, yeah,
I'll be right back.
yeah. All right, we're gonna leave. We're gonna give Ilya a short interlude while he's fixing his audio over there in the Russian gulag, and we'll continue with where we left off. What I was talking about was taking that step back and that perspective to reload to understand where you're coming from and put the map down, the map that you're always holding, that you're anxiously holding on to because you might be sort of lost at this point in time, and reassess. What I mean by that is find remember what inspires you, right? Because like I said, like I was saying, if when we were kids we played the cowboy and we became the cowboy, our parents were like, what are you doing? And you're like, stick them up, put the money in the bed, or like, I don't know how that was me as a cowboy. Okay, I was like, stick them up. You got any you got any what are they looking for? Any milk? You mean to get a glass of milk, bartender? But it was that role. You just felt like you were a cowboy. You felt like you could because you were vulnerable enough to let yourself go into that. And now, like, I know we're kind of bridging on some sort of acting philosophies here as well, but if you're an artist, if you're someone who's chasing inspiration, if you're chasing a level of self-fulfillment beyond just wanting to find contemporary work and do that thing, then the sooner that you can let go of the pretentious part of yourself that's not allowing you to grow, you will fucking grow. You will understand yourself more. And like, shout out to Alberto Palayo, sorry. Shout out to Alberto, my professor, because he's someone who's really inspired me to think this way and understand this perspective. And I'm still working on it. And I just think that he really showed me how to put down the map for a second. And overall, my studies have really showed me so far, like what it takes to just put down the map and reassess, reacquaint yourself with your emotions, right? Because sometimes you get this momentum and you're going places, and that's so great. Like I think that at that point, if you have momentum in life, you just go for it. Okay, like someone like Joe Rogan says, like he knows when he's in the pocket and he just pushes that, and it's like that's great as well. You know, it's like if you're in an F1 race, like you don't need to go in that pit lane yet, right? There's a time for the pit lane. Okay, Brad Pitt, but there's a crazy angle. But when the time comes, you'll go in that pit lane and make those adjustments. But when you're in that race, like you're wanting to climb, you want to be in that place for as long as you can at the front. That's at the front of the race. Okay. And like there are teammates in F1 racing. You can have teammates in life, but at the end of the day, nobody's going to save you except yourself. Huh? Because I've been someone who's been like, oh, this person could help me. This person could really help me. Fuck that shit. That's bullshit. Someone can help you for sure, but they don't owe you. They don't owe you to help you. It's not owed to them to help you. They got to where they are by their own experiences, whatever it is. To think that someone owes you something, like anything, whether it's success, like money, drugs, sex, it's completely, that's an emotional regulation you're applying to that. And I just think it's gonna, it like thinking that way, like you're gonna wind up getting hurt by something at some point, and it's just not worth thinking like that. So you have to find what inspires you, what truly inspires you. You need to go back to your past and explore things. Like for me, I'm rewatching Star Wars, like not so often enough that you'd call me crazy, but I'm rewatching Star Wars pretty often. Okay, it's on in the background. um it's one of my mentors for aesthetics. I'm a big believer in like creating a world that you can believe that doesn't even exist. There is a galaxy far, far away, okay, but it might not be Star Wars. But the fact that you can watch the movie and emerging from that is George Lucas's whole array of just like imaginarium, you know. Emerging from Star Wars is this universe that you can dig into, right? And that's something that I absolutely love. I love the ability to try and create something that people can be immersed in and lose themselves in, and that's what true art is. True art is something that reflects something about the creator that's so deep and so rich and comes from somewhere so developed, yet so like raw, that you can't help but just like lose yourself in it and be totally absorbed by it. Let's have a look here. Let's have a look at some of the um, costumes, because it's like it's tremendous. It's like some of these costumes I feel like you only saw for like a couple of seconds, like this ghost looking guy. There's so many costumes here. This, I mean, the Ewoks, the Jawas, these guys. There's so many different styles and designs and different things. I mean, Sebulba, like, come on. I mean, I know the prequels kind of gets a bit, but still, you have to admire the prequels for some things. What was so good about the prequels? Okay, here's what was the one good thing about the prequels was at the very least they emerged and they developed part of the story. Okay, whatever it, like, I get it, like the fucking CGI and like these three fucking humanoid frogs. But at the end of the day, there was still something magical about the prequels for the kids who grew up on them. They were still they're still revered as some of like the greatest movie moments and aspects of movie culture and pop culture. Like this guy, come on, every who's suffering me Jedi? Like, come on, bro. Somebody clip that. You said Jedi bomba. Like this fucking guy was shout out to the Vulture publication. And like Annie, little Annie. Come on. There were parts of the prequels that I will always remember as a kid. And like, and the OGs and the original trilogy, you know? Like Master Yoda's OG appearance is like forever. And then his death is like as a kid, like totally destroyed me. So anyway, I just think that the way that LucasArts, George Lucas built these characters and now you can really see and you can tell that he was just a person with an idea. That's what I think is so inspiring that we forget. Star Wars is so big now. Star Wars is so on a scale that you cannot even comprehend. Like books, comics, movies, music, TV, culture, everything, like merchandise. Fucking, I was looking on eBay and there were like these crazy Star Wars ties. Let me show you. Look at this. Look at this tie. It's crazy. There is so much now. Star Wars is everything. I think I'm going to buy one of these. Can somebody make a donation to the channel so I can buy one of these ties? Please. You don't understand. I absolutely need one of these ties. I wear it. If someone if someone donates to the channel any amount, if you donate to the Substack, I will buy one of these ties and wear it in every one of the future episodes. Okay, and you will have until I find a better tie, but you will have sponsored that. Okay, so head to the Substack, make a donation of any amount. I will buy one of these ties, and I will fucking wear this on the next episode as soon as it arrives. I'm gonna clip that. Get the editor to clip that. Okay. So, anyway, what I was saying is that this idea, Star Wars, came from one guy, and the mind of this person who had an inspiration and had this universe inside his mind, and he got it out, and then now look what's become of it, right? You almost can't even think about like how someone could even go about doing that. But the truth is that you and I'm talking to other artists out there, have the power and the capacity to do that. Like if you really pay attention and concentrate on what you want and what you like and be true to yourself, because the truest part of yourself is what's going to do that. Like the truest, most vulnerable part of yourself that likes what it does, if you work on that and express that and find the right people that share that vision, that share a passion for making cool things, you can make something that lasts for a lifetime. Okay, don't ever think that I'm not good enough. I'm not like George Lucas, or like I don't have what it takes. Like nobody will listen to me. Like I don't want to work with other people. There's all these bullshit excuses. Stop using bullshit excuses. Okay? Stop giving yourself excuses to not make things, because The only thing standing in the way of you and making something is just the process to get there. You might not have the tools right now, okay, but find a way. Like, if you want to create something, if you want to change part of your life, the only way to do that is to start, okay? And if you don't want to start, then you don't want to change. You don't want to create something. You don't want to create. It's as simple as that. Like, you might not have the money, okay? There are other ways to do things if you don't have money. There's creative ways to reach your goals if you don't have money. People have done it all the time. Okay, I feel like excuses are really funny, isn't it? Because I think that we give ourselves these excuses all the time. I'm tired. I don't have time. I don't have money. Nobody listens to me. I don't know anybody that does that. I don't have friends. Fuck that. Who says? You are the only person saying that. So what? If you want to make something, if you want to change your life, you have to find a way. Okay? You have to reach out to the friend and say, "Look, can I get 100? Can I get 200? Can I get 1,000?" I get that. I used to be someone who just was like, well, no. Okay? I'm not saying just like reach out to everyone like I just did and ask for money to buy a tie. I'm just saying that, like, if there's good people around you who you trust and it's mutual, reach out to them. If you really have a goal, if you have a dream to do something, you know, and you tell them about that, you can George Lucas your life. I think that that's exactly how George Lucas approached Star Wars. In the beginning, not many people believed in it. Not many people thought it would hit. A space opera at the time wasn't going to sound cool, wasn't sounding cool. Now I need to watch Star Wars today. But a space opera was not sounding cool at the time when he was pitching the idea. Look at it now. If he had listened to people, sometimes we listen a lot. If he had listened to people who were saying, "Oh, I don't know, George. I don't know. The space opera, what, aliens? You got a character. He's called Darth Vader. Who is this Darth Vader? I don't believe it, George. I don't know, George." If he had believed all these people that were doubting it or whatever, it wouldn't be what it is today. Okay. And I'm sure he asked for favors along the way to get the dream to where it is. Okay. And I mean, I'm sure he has people that hate him. Whatever. What can you do? Those people that hate him have probably seen Star Wars. Let me tell you that. For every enemy that George Lucas might have, I guarantee you they've watched Star Wars. And if they haven't, they probably watched Indiana Jones. And if they haven't, if they haven't done that, then they probably in a cave. Okay, they're probably the dudes from Plato's cave theory. So, like, where people sometimes get bad to reach out. They're like, I don't want to reach out. I don't want to bother them, or like, fuck that. That's your ego getting in the way. Don't let yourself get in the way of that. Okay. Or you realize, okay, if you're getting in the way of yourself, why? Like, try and think about that. Like, if you're kind of like setting yourself up in some way to do something and you're like, yeah, but you make an excuse, there could be a reason for that as well. Maybe it's because the reason why you're chasing that is actually really trivial. Like the desire to do that thing. Like, like, for example, I off the top of my head right now, I don't know. You're like, I want to start a podcast. Why do you want to start the podcast? Because motherfuckers are getting famous on podcasts now, and like, I want to get a bit of that. Okay, so I mean, I'm gonna ask $1,000 to get this. I'm gonna ask $1,000. I'm gonna get the subscriptions I need. I'm gonna pay for some ad marketing, and then the next day you're like, man, I'm not gonna do all that, or like, yeah, I don't know who to reach out to, or I don't know, like, fuck, if you really wanted to do that, you'd make a pitch deck and you'd start emailing people who you've met once, you've met twice, email fucking a production studio, email anyone. Like, the thing is, nobody believes in themselves anymore. Okay. We've been taught that like things happen like that overnight, that things happen magically. Because, like, on Instagram, it's like you're following something on the explore page, and then it's like, here's how I made 23K investing in M&Ms and micro nuggets in 72 hours. And it's fucking, it's cool. Like, yeah, there is fucking outliers, and like the dude did really eat like 500,000 M&Ms, and M&M saw that and then sponsored him. But like, he got type 2 diabetes, dude. He like died. He was like 30 years old, okay? Fucking, it was not a good life, okay? But he lived his dream up in that way. I'm not saying you should go eat a bunch of fucking M&Ms or a bunch of apples to get sponsored by a fucking apple farm. But what I'm saying is that we get shown on Instagram and social media platforms like people that are blowing up like overnight, okay? Even on a platform like Kill Tony, for example, like you have stand-ups that get on there, but they're fucking, it's never their first time. And if it is, there's a couple that it's their first time. There's only been a couple first timers that have like gotten a golden ticket, for example, which is like a ticket and they progress onto the next sort of stage. They get to come back. They get to work on their set and come back. Okay, my example for the Kill Tony premise is that like sometimes there are outliers. Sometimes people do get picked, but that is also a platform. So that's kind of, it's a bit subjective. What I'm saying is when you see that person on Instagram that's blown up overnight, Instagram is showing you and makes us think that like these are things that supposedly can happen in the next day. So when it's tomorrow and your idea hasn't come about already and you're like, why the fuck am I not rich? Where the fuck is my Ferrari? What the hell? Where are my bitches? Whatever it is that you value, where are my goals? Where's my desires? Why am I not inspired? Because it's only been a day. Well, like Rome wasn't built in a day, as I'm literally in Italy. Very little is made in a day. Okay, I have made things in a day. I've created things in a day, but I'm a very special unicorn. Okay, and like me, there are others, but also I come from a place where I'm drawing from elements from my past, and I premeditate a lot of my things because I'm thinking a lot of the time. So I'm maybe not the best example. I'm usually thinking about what I can do and what I can create and build from something from the next. But before I get too off on a train of thought and continue that, what I want to sort of reinforce here is that whatever it is that you're trying to change in life, like at the smallest thing, minute detail, or a radical shift, you're trying to create something great. You're trying to heal a relationship with an ant, okay? It doesn't matter what it is, but you can't have the audacity to go to sleep and wake up and wonder if you've made the change, because change doesn't happen like that. Change is a consistency over time thing. It's a compounding thing. It's like fucking compounding interest. It's like you don't put a bunch in the bank and then be like, when that interest hits, withdraw that shit and be like, that's it. I made my money. Goddamn, I'm rich. No, that's fucking crazy. That's like someone who has commitment issues. That's someone who's afraid to commit to something, and someone who's like, you know, not thinking like longitudinally, longitudinally, you know? You have to think longer. Think like small increments. Like it's like a fucking small thing. Have you ever seen a caterpillar eat a leaf? It's very slow. It's very painful to watch, okay? But I don't know why I thought about that. But I'm just saying, like, these things like take so much time, like that you can't possibly wake up the next day and assume or wonder why you haven't reached success yet. All right. And don't get me wrong, like I'm someone who's been like chasing the dragon, or like chasing inspiration and been inspired and done things and made some really cool things. And I'm always constantly wondering like, why aren't I where I envision I want to be yet? But every single week when I look back and try and recount like what happened in the week, I'm moving somewhere. I'm going somewhere. I've made something great. I've had an idea. I've saved something new. I've screenshotted a new image. I've watched a new movie. Um, I've bought a new piece of clothing that's helped me inspired my perspective. Okay, because if you're open to things like that, not open to everything, because there's a lot of fucking bullshit. You got to filter the bullshit because there's so much bullshit in life as well. Like if you spend all your time open to absolutely everything, you're open to nothing and all that blah 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 blah. You get that. I'm just saying that. Look, to kind of recount where we're at right now in this chapter, we've kind of covered some of David Cho. We've gone and tracked on inspiration. We're here, the most inspired podcast on earth. I've kind of explained some of what inspiration is. Explained to you that you should try and be more vulnerable. When you were a kid, when you played cowboys and robbers, you really were the cowboy. Okay, there was no messing around. It was do or die. Sometimes you have to think like that and let yourself go, become the cowboy in Cowboys and Robbers. Then we discussed a bit of inspiration, pop culture, George Lucas. You have to be like the George Lucas. You have to go George Lucas mode. Fuck the haters. Find the right people. Finding people as well. We just discussed reaching out to people, and if you have close people to you, you have a dream, reach out to them. If they believe in you, they'll support you. Once again, if you want to support the show and you want to see me wear the Star Wars tie in the next episode, go to the Substack. The link is in the show, in the bio. If you go into the YouTube, you'll find the Substack link on the Instagram, blah, blah, blah. Make a donation. I'll buy the tie on eBay and I will wear that until I find a better tie or until someone sponsors the next outfit. But I would love to feature that fan-inspired inspiration into that. I mean, I'll buy it anyway. But I'm just saying, if someone wants to contribute to that and feel like you've made a change, you've inspired some part of the show, interacted with us in that way, go and donate, whatever, and we'll do that. And you can style me, be my personal stylist, styled by the streets. And then we've kind of touched on, where did we just leave off? Asking the right people and not being afraid to ask the right people. And the last, most recent point that we just stopped off at was, I am just losing track of it exactly, but I know it was along the lines of those sort of things. So anyway, just remember that everybody gets nervous, at times. And like we just said, I remember it now. It was just, don't assume that things are going to happen the next day, that the changes that you make today are even going to take effect tomorrow. Like, that's one thing that exercise and regime has told me. It's that sometimes you can expect the change to be right there and then, but it's crazy to think that. There's very few things that give that satisfaction of changing yourself there in the moment. And funnily enough, everything that changes you instantaneously is generally bad for you, okay? Like fucking speed. You're definitely going to feel the effects of speed as soon as you take it, all right? But that shit is going to kill you slowly over many days if you continue to take speed until you're dead. That goes with a lot of other things that change you there and then in the moment, that are especially drugs, alcohol related, okay? Emotionally, 100%, that's a bit more complex, and I don't really want to get into that, because I feel like emotionally everyone has a sort of their own understanding and different take, but there's toxic emotions, there's things like that as well, so that's all relevant. But that being said, remember that consistency is a longitudinal thing, okay? Remember that you can't expect to see results the day you've made the decision to start that journey. It's totally just not going to happen, right? Not going to happen. So that's where I'm at with those things. I'm gonna check in with Ilya G. I'm not sure if he managed to get the audio to work. If you're tuning in late, welcome to the most inspired podcast on planet Earth. Why? Prove me wrong. Write it in the comment section below. And we were gonna have Ilya on, but he's had some audio troubles. So I want to thank everybody who's just been tuning in and listening to me just kind of ramble on this Sunday on this episode. For anyone that's sort of been watching the show's aesthetic, it's actually changed a lot. It's still We're still out here in Nevada. I particularly like the Nevada desert. I think that it's really interesting to me because of like the Breaking Bad fucking all that sort of thing. That's what inspired the Nevada era for the show. And then I've come up with these characters that I feel like the dinosaur sort of represents me. I feel like he sounds like, I feel like I sound like this character that's on the screen here. And then this little bird guy is just, it could be Ilya. I mean, Ilya, you kind of do look like that bird if you're watching right now. Um, that kind of, That's kind of you, bro. Or it's flipped. It could also be reversed, which I'd be totally fine with as well. I'm a bit. I could also be that bird, and you could be the dinosaur. But role play aside, these characters came about because I also really love cartooning. Adventure Time, regular show. These are cartoons that really shaped and inspired me beyond just simple media. And these are shows that I resonate with and things like that as well. So it's great. It's great to be able to draw on those elements and things like that as well, because that's what you should be doing. Like if you're creative, if you like to create things, knowing what inspires you and where you come from is going to allow you to be like consistent with that. And consistency sometimes is so hard as a creative. It can be like so difficult to just tap in consistently and make the same thing and be and with yourself, because if you're off with the fairies, shout out to our episode with Lil Pixie, but if you're off with the fairies all the time and you're just chasing the next big thing for yourself, well, you might always be doing that and you might never really discover like what you truly enjoy, because it's just masked by the constant chasing of things that you feel like are relevant to you right there and then. But if you try and think more longitudinally, building something up from the ground up is like the most rewarding thing. It's like, yes, it's such a cool high to feel like you found something, make something there and then. But in 20 years, when this show is live and when we have guests like Eric Andre, and even if it gets to that or not, like I don't really care, because I just feel like there's something that's about this show that just feels so true. And it's the most inspired show on planet Earth. I don't know what else I could say, but all the guests that I've had on so far are so cool. I'm so privileged to be able to spend moments with people that come on the show, and it's really great to be able to do that. And like I said, when the show kind of takes into that new area, that new place, that's when it's really going to shine. And I feel like that's when people are going to be able to really get a hold of like what the show's about. This is just the foundational work. Okay, this is just season one. Okay, I know that season one, it's for some shows it's the best season. For this show, it may not be that. It may be that. I don't know. I'm getting on here. I'm just talking. I'm not looking at the timer. Um, and whatever comes out comes out. Okay, like if we get something that's really rich and deep, if we trap lightning in a bottle, that's great. I think that with every project that I'm working on, the goal is to trap lightning in a bottle. You never know if it's going to happen. Okay, you can't always produce it, but you can create the weather for it, right? If you can create the weather for a thunderstorm in the best way, okay, all you got to do is stand out there with a jar and hope that the lightning strikes in the jar and not your mouth. Okay, when you're standing there, like, I would maybe close your mouth. And that's when you're working on a project. Okay, when you're working on something that's live, that's happening, like there and then, that's when you can trap lightning in a bottle. That's when my goal is to do that. And whether it's in an image, whether it's in a short, this episode might only produce like one good clip. And That's totally okay. I don't think so. There's more than one good clip. But for example, if what I do in this is trap lightning in a bottle for one good clip, it was all worth it. Okay. In my mind, I'm standing out there in the rain just to try and catch this moment that in an image conveys the message perfectly, has the right composition, the lighting is on point, the emotions are there, everything is perfect. That might not even ever happen for hours of work that you put in, you know. Maybe because you haven't developed your skill enough. There's been things that I've done where I haven't had enough skill to even be able to do that. I might not even be able to acknowledge whether it's lightning or not. But also, I think that if something looks great, it looks great. It goes beyond. It captivates an audience because it's so vulnerable and so true that even a toddler could look at it and be captivated by that work because it's magic in that way. It's fucking lightning in a bottle. Okay. And the more skilled you are, I think the more opportunity you have to work with good people and great people. And I feel like if you work with great people, you get like the Avengers. Because whatever you think of the Avengers, what do you think of the Avengers? I think it's kind of flawless in some ways. Like the Avengers series, pretty fucking good. Pretty hard to not pretty hard to not enjoy watching those films. When you're working with so many great people, a cast that's like star-studded. Beyond the cast, you have the characters of fucking Marvel. It's fucking Marvel in a it's Marvel in a bottle. It was Marvel in a bottle, but it's lightning in a bottle. It's and because there's so many great minds there working alike, huge teams and whatnot, like the opportunity to do that is so much more like prevalent. Like another example, when the greatest link up of the times, when Andy Warhol met Jean-Michel Basquiat, and that moment brought about some generational art. These are two like hugely immense minds, and them working together had that ability to do that. Trap lightning in a bottle. I think with that, guys, with that, I'm going to leave this episode short and sharp. A nice little 70-minute slice for your day today. I'm getting a little tired, I'll admit, but nothing to get in the way of an episode of a good movie and a nice little walk. I do need to get some sun today, so make sure you get outside and get some sun and do all the things that then secure your day. Put on my old classic Casio because that's how we roll. Fucking classic watches. Okay? None of this fucking G-Shock, Apple Watch, fucking futuristic tech that tells you whether you have erectile dysfunction or not. You don't need that. Throw that shit in the trash. Put it in the toilet. Flush it down the toilet bowl. It's a dead fish. Okay? Buy a fucking classic watch. Okay? Buy something that's analog. Okay? Fucking make sure your keys are on a keychain, not on your phone to unlock your door, okay? Fucking scroll through YouTube and find an old documentary that you've never seen, okay? Do something different because it's the only thing that's going to inspire you to change something about yourself. Okay? You're riding the same pocket, the same grooves, you're doing the same shit that you did yesterday and wondering why you didn't change. If that is you, do something different and do it consistently. Think longitudinally, okay? Don't be hard on yourself. Just do it. Be kind. Be the cowboy that you were when you were a kid. Be vulnerable. Let go of the prejudice that you have for yourself and just remember how to act natural. Just try it, all right? Just be vulnerable. Do something. Stick out your tongue to someone. Hit someone with that in the street. Be like, hey buddy, huh? See what they do. See what they do. I guarantee you they'll smile or they'll probably beat the shit out of you. Either way, you fucking learn. All right, people. This has been lovely. Thank you for joining me on this episode. As always, I'm your host, Zeek the Kid, and you've been listening to the Most Inspired podcast. Well, since we last spoke,